Hello and welcome back to the studio. If you're joining us for the first time, we're coming to you live from the PRI studio here in the exhibition hall at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. We're delighted to have you joining us virtually, and we'd like to hear from you and have questions for our guest today. So please use Slido, which you can find on the right-hand side of your screen. Make sure to select Live Studio when you submit your questions. You can check the agenda at any time by choosing the agenda option on the navigation bar and select PRI in-person-digital. And I'm really excited to welcome our guests to the studio now. We have two of the award winners from the PRI Awards who won last night. So let me introduce to you our guests today. So first of all, we have one of our PRI judges. We have Jen Sisson, CEO for International Corporate Governance Network. Then we have our winners. So starting with Kate Turner, Global Head of Responsible Investment for First Sentier Investors. And then we also have Toby Belsom from the PRI. Toby didn't win, but Toby is Director for Guidance from PRI. And finally, we have our other winner, Renee Tengberg, ESG Director, Climate and Nature for Nordea Asset Management. Welcome to all of you. And a huge thank you to Renee for actually bringing one of her awards to the studio, so we actually get to see what our award winners receive, other than the great accolades as well. As I said, we can pose your questions to our guests, so please use Slido to submit questions for today's session. But first of all, I've got a few questions I'd like to ask. If we can start with you, Toby, as you were coordinating these awards. Can you tell us a bit about the awards and give us some insights on this year's edition?
Thanks, Emily. And the whole kind of journey for the awards started at the beginning of the year. And we didn't do it last year, so PRI as an organisation really pleased to relaunch the PRI Awards in this year. A couple of different innovations in 2024. We slightly rejigged the award categories. Two which are established, we've had them previously, around responsible investment strategy and system stewardship. And then three new ones around recognition for action on climate, recognition for action on nature, and recognition for action on human rights. We also had two special awards of which all the submitters were could apply for effectively, one on private markets and one on emerging markets. So those are a couple of innovations we've launched this year. The other one, I suppose, I think another kind of key comment about this year is we had a great level of interest, 180 submissions in total.
Wow.
And 37 great judges. Jen is one.
Fantastic. Well, yes, Jen, coming to you. So you were one of the judges this year, and obviously that's quite a tough job judging all these great entries. What are your main reflections on the winners across the categories?
Yeah, well, it was, I tell you what, I've judged some awards in my time, and this was a particularly tough one. So I will say, incredible, well done for winning, but also for those of you who are shortlisted, I mean, it was an incredible range of really, really high quality submissions. And it was pretty hard to judge. So, I mean, very, very well done indeed. And I think, it really does show across all of those submissions and all the shortlists, at least, just the range of issues that we're all trying to grapple with here as responsible investors, and the real innovation and quality of what's being done in practice globally. And for me, it was really nice to see the real focus on outcomes in all the submissions, and certainly in the winners, because it's really showing that we are, we do get there when we put our effort in the right place. So other thing that struck me that was really impressive is just the range of geographies that were represented in what I was looking at and across the submissions. So there were submissions from all over the place. So obviously Australia, Europe, South America, the US, the UK, all over the place, and Malaysia, Asia, Japan. So, it was incredible to see that. And I really, again, that just shows the breadth of PRI signatories, right? And all the things that we're trying to work together on. And so then the other thing, which I think was brilliant to see and recognized, right, in the awards, is the innovation and how much change is happening and how much people are pressing forward, particularly interesting in the private markets and the emerging market space. And, one of the applicants was about private portfolio investing in art made by underrepresented groups. So really just all sorts of different things in there, and a fantastic year. So yeah, well done winning amongst an incredible cohort.
Yeah, and all incredibly positive as well. So, it's so great to be talking about these awards. They're such a positive initiative, and to hear all about the great work that people are doing out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to do something so positive and hopeful, right? We all spend quite a lot of time talking about issues and challenges and, what are we going to do? And so I think it's brilliant to recognize things that are going well and that are making progress.
Fantastic. Well, Kate, coming to you as one of our winners, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you share with us, why should asset owners really be pushing their investment managers on slavery within supply chains?
Mm-hmm. I think just picking up on that point, I think the initiative Investors Against Slavery and Trafficking that won an award, it is a hard topic. It is a hard issue to tackle, and it is a really confronting topic. So it's really lovely to have these awards to actually take a step back and celebrate some of the achievements that we've made, because sometimes there's just this need to push further and push harder and do more because there's so much left to do. And I think to your question there, there's an estimated close to 50 million victims of modern slavery across the world. It's an issue that's getting worse because of things like COVID, climate change, consumerism. So it's very much connected to some of the other ESG issues that we're thinking about as well. So given it's such a systemic issue, given that it's pervasive through all of the companies that we invest in across all of our portfolios, I think that's a really important reason that asset owners should be pushing harder on it.
Amazing. It's such a great initiative. Could you share a bit about what is next for the programme?
Mm-hmm. So when Investors Against Slavery and Trafficking APAC first started back in 2020 was just around the time that the Australian Modern Slavery Act was coming into force. So whilst we're an APAC-wide initiative, at the time there were just a lot of Australian signatories just because of that particular point in time. Over the last couple of years, we've really broadened the signatory base, and there are a lot of members from other parts of APAC outside Australia. So really what we're trying to think about for the initiative is, with that broader signatory base, how can we think more strategically about how we engage in policy advocacy across the Asia region, how we're doing engagement differently, how we can better support those members while still driving some of the outcomes that we've seen in the Australian market as well.
Fantastic. Such great work. Thank you so much. And just a reminder to our audience, you can submit questions to our panel here today through Slido on the right-hand side of your screen. Just select Live Studio. So I'd like to come to you now, Renee. Congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
So why did Nordea Asset Management decide to focus on methane?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of focus on reducing carbon dioxide, and methane is kind of the lesser known little brother in a way, but it's not really a little brother. So methane's actually responsible for more than 30% of the global warming that we're seeing today. And the reason for that is that it's an extremely powerful greenhouse gas. So it's actually more than 80 times more powerful than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. And there are a number of sectors that account for these methane emissions. So we've had a focus on oil and gas, utilities and waste management, since these are the sectors that are most dominant in terms of man-made methane emissions. And so this is, when we look at the work that can be done on methane, we see that it can actually, 75% of the reduction of methane can be done at zero net cost. And for investors, this is a way to very effectively decarbonize portfolios and have an impact that we will actually see within our lifetimes. So a very significant impact.
Fantastic. So what were the features of the collaboration that worked well and really made this program tick?
Yeah. So I think the features that I would emphasize is that we've really focused on having a holistic approach. So we have focused on corporate engagement, but also see that policy engagement is important. We have also seen that it's been extremely important to come and meet the companies where they are. So there are situations where, we traveled to the desert, to the middle of the Permian Basin to meet with companies. We go to oil and gas conferences. So we see that has also been an aspect that is really important. I would also mention that we collaborate with expert partners. So having these kinds of dialogues with companies, we are not necessarily the experts. So by collaborating with partners such as the Environmental Defence Fund, Carbon Tracker, the United Nations Environment Programme, we've found that we've been able to have a much more constructive and productive dialogue with the companies and achieve outcomes, as you mentioned there. So the other thing I'd mention, of course, this is an investor collaboration. So we have nearly 20 investors in the collaboration with more than 3.7 trillion euros in assets under management. So we have a very supportive and engaged investor group. So there's some of the features that I would sort of highlight. Also recommend having a very sort of systematic approach and be very focused on one goal, which for us has been getting the companies to join the Oil and Gas Methane Partnership 2.0. So we really encourage the investors who are here today to sort of unite and help us in this work to have more companies join.
Amazing insights there on how to really collaborate productively. Thank you so much. Toby, coming to you. Looking to the future, what can you tell us about the PRI Awards for 2025?
Thanks. A couple of things. I think I'll pick up one point as well. All the winning case studies are available on our website, and over the next couple of months, actually, we'll publish all the shortlisted ones as well, and they're really rich in detail about what's been going on, both with these for Sentier and Nordea, but the other winners and shortlisted. And I would really advise you to take a look at those because they're very interesting and very good in terms of giving tips and examples of leading practice. For 2025, we'll do the same thing again. We'll launch the awards in next year, culminating in PRI in person in 2025. We'll have the same type of timescale. Submitters or PRI signatories who want to submit should be getting their submissions ready about Easter time, I would suggest, in 2025. We'll do a few innovations. I think one innovation we can talk about now is that we'll have a new award on responsible investment communications or communications in RI. So that's an interesting one and very pertinent when a lot of the signatories are under pressure in terms of greenwashing and greenhushing. So great new innovation for 2025 to keep an eye out for.
Very exciting. We hope we inspire some of you to actually apply as well. So let's see what questions we have from the audience. So the first question, and I suppose this could go to all of you, but what advice would you give to organisations preparing their submissions for the next awards cycle to make sure they stand out? So maybe we start with you, Jen.
Well, I think that's a great question. So I'd say for me, the ones that stood out the most were absolutely clear on what their goals were and then really, really targeted. So exactly what like you were just mentioning, we have a goal. We're able to measure progress to that goal, and this is where we've gotten to, and this is what's next. So I think that clarity of purpose is great. And then just like really focusing on, what's working, but also realistic, right? Everything isn't going to get done likely in 1 year, right? So how do we see this in terms of where are we up to now and what's going next? Lovely to see where there is sort of progress and next steps. I think that's quite nice to see.
And Kate, as an award winner, what advice would you give to someone submitting?
Oh, just very practically, don't leave it to the last minute. It's quite an extensive process to go through. So yeah, be organised.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. So our next question is, did some categories get more submissions than others? So maybe, Toby, that's one for you.
I suppose this is a little bit inevitable. Climate got the most submissions. Recognition for action in climate, and that's no surprise. You can see the content and the type of discussion and zeitgeist in the hall today and in many other conferences around climate. Also really pleased to see a not insignificant number of submissions on human rights, which is perhaps more of a tricky topic for a lot of our signatories. So the good breadth of submissions on all the categories. Climate was the most popular, then RI investment strategy, but good to see a good broad range.
Fantastic. Are you going to change any of the categories for next year?
I think one of the things we'll work on is this new award in RI communications. In terms of the other awards, we might tweak them. Let's see.
Fantastic. Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question on the judges. So Jen, maybe you can take this. How do people get chosen to be judges, and can someone just apply?
Do you know what? I don't know. Toby asked me.
Oh, there we go.
And
Toby,
I said,
back
of
to
course,
you.
that would be my pleasure. But I don't know. How did you choose?
Well, firstly, all the judges are independent from PRI. It's worthwhile mentioning. They're not from signatories. They're from other kind of partner organisations such as ICGN, consultants, academics, those type of groupings. It wasn't you couldn't apply per se, but we'd be interested to hear from people who are interested in being a judge next year. We used 37 this year, and hopefully we might need some more if we get more submissions in 2025.
Fantastic.
We'll see.
Maybe our existing award winners will want to take part. Kate, could you tell us a bit more about your initiative? Because obviously there's a lot that went into it. And what's next for you?
Sure. So Investors Against Slavery and Trafficking is an investor-led initiative. We have, I think it's around 52 signatories in Australian dollars. Sorry for everyone who's Not Australian, but in Australian dollars, it's $12 trillion in assets under management. And we're really working to find, fix and prevent modern slavery in the Asia Pacific region. So there's a few different work streams there, similar to Renee. We have a piece of a work stream called Investor Advocacy, where we're engaging in policy advocacy with policymakers around the region. And also we've been engaging with data providers and standard setters on what's the data that we need to make what's decision useful data to make good decisions when it comes to modern slavery. Data is never going to be the start and end point, but it can really help us hone in on where the risks sit within our portfolio. So that's the first work stream. The second work stream is a collaborative engagement, and we have lead and support investors engaging with, I think we've got around 25 focus companies that are spread right across the Asia Pacific region. A couple of things that are definitely worth mentioning. The first is we have a great knowledge partner in Walk Free and another one in Finance Against Slavery and Trafficking, again similar to you, Renee. I think it's a topic that many investors aren't experts on, and that we really, when we started the initiative, saw that there was a need to lift the knowledge on this. So having knowledge partners, having connection to civil society has really helped us deepen our knowledge across the whole signatory base on modern slavery. And the last point that I would mention is that whilst it did say it was a first Sentier investors submission, there is a fantastic steering committee of investors that put this submission in together. So it was ourselves, Australian Super, Aware Super, Ausbil Investment Management, Fidelity and AXI, together with Walk Free and Fast, that have really, that group has come together and really led this over the last 5 years. It's absolutely not a first Sentier initiative on our own. We've got a really great steering committee, and we're supported by a really fantastic active member base.
Well, thank you for sharing that credit. Renee, same question to you. So how do you want to take your program forward now?
Yeah, so from here, for us, as I mentioned, we've had a sort of phased focus on certain sectors. So the next phase for us is to go deeper into the waste management sector. That's an area where it's very complex in terms of when it comes to methane mitigation. And then the next focus from there is on steel and met coal mining companies. Some of you may be familiar with the work that UNEP is doing on a new framework called the Steel Methane Program. It's quite similar to the Oil and Gas Methane Partnership 2.0 in its approach. So our intention is then for that to be phase 4 of the methane engagement. We also continue to onboard new investors, and of course we have a lot of focus on the 65 companies that we're engaging with now. So we see it's important to be persistent. Sometimes companies tell us no, but we've heard that many times, and then they turn around and they say yes. And so that's something where, we're just really going to continue, putting in the work, spending the time with the companies, and seeing to do what we can to help support them on their methane mitigation journey.
Great words of wisdom there about the importance of persistence. Absolutely. Thank you, Renee. Okay, we have another question. I guess this probably goes to Toby. Did you notice more submissions from asset owners, asset managers, or service providers?
I think one of the feature of the spread of submissions we had was to that point that Jen made, is that they were really global in nature. And that was really heartening to see. This isn't just a European kind of thing and leadership in just those Northern Europe or America. A lot of the more exciting projects and submissions, shortlisted and not shortlisted, came from emerging markets, which were very kind of focused on impact, and focused on their own specific geography as well. So I think that was one really big feature of the submissions more broadly. On whether asset owners, investment managers, service providers, there was quite a good mix. We deliberately encouraged service providers to apply this year, which I think is a little bit different from previous years. And we'd love to see more submissions from that category of signatory going forward as well.
Fantastic. Well, that leads nicely to our final question, which is, and maybe we can start with you on this, Jen. What would you say to people who are working on relevant projects or initiatives? What would you say to encourage them to apply for next year's awards?
Well, I would take away that this has been a very uplifting experience to be part of, right? And it's nice to celebrate success. We all spend a lot of time worrying about problems and trying to solve problems. And so I think if we've had some wins, we should shout about them. And so I would really encourage you to be proud of your wins and be proud of what you're doing and to put a submission in, because I think it's really important that we share the brilliant progress that is being made, and like Toby said, you get to the summaries all go up on the website of the shortlist, so a lot of people will get to see what you've been doing, and I think that can be very inspiring.
And yeah, that important profile piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kate, Renee, any comments on that?
I would 100% agree. Like it is nice to take a step back and celebrate. The other comment I would make, the main reason that the steering committee of IAS decided to put our submission forward is we think it's a really great initiative. We really want to get more signatories on board, and that this was a really great opportunity that PRI was providing to showcase what we're doing. So we hope that it leads to new members joining up, and I hope that if other people have collaborative initiatives that they put them forward next year too, and take that opportunity as well.
Renee, I'm sure you'd echo those sentiments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I can also say that we're of course very proud to receive the award. Maybe one thing that I hope helped in our application is providing concrete examples to show the depth of what we were doing. We've had a strong focus on methane quant and research. So what we wanted to show is that, this is not kind of a superficial undertaking, that we have actually been doing really deep research as a way to inform engagement discussions with the companies. So maybe include some examples in your application, just to be able to show and help the judges to understand really what you're practically working with.
Great advice. Toby, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think just one. We deliberately set out right at the beginning of this process, for this year anyway, to make the submission process less burdensome as possible. I think that we advised on 1,200 words being the max in terms of the submissions, and I hope that gives the ability for organisations to submit the really key features about their submission, but not have to require lots and lots of detail.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for making the time. We really appreciate it. A big congratulations again to Kate and Renee for winning, and very, very well deserved. So thank you so much to my guests. We're going to be back in the studio shortly to talk about PRI's new progression pathways. So we will see you then.